Since contact, the recipe of poi has changed. Yeah, in the 1820s, it was easier to get water to grow taro if you were a Chinese immigrant because you were basically renting it from the plantation. They were renting the land and the water that they had stolen from the Hawaiian, who was the Chinese customer. How easy it was to start a poi business in the 1800s was you simply went, you tied a white rag to your door or you left it outside your house, and that's how they knew you was in the poi business. And the kupuna were appalled when they saw the Chinese cleaning it with a spoon. You see, only the starch is used to make poi. And this is really important. This is a term. You read Puku'i's book, her thing on poi, there's one term she never uses. I'o. Actually, in a UH book, where they describe the different meats of the taro, they leave a reference to the starch being the i'o. Puku'i says that their family preferred a variety of taro called Aloha because it could stay in the ground without getting loli, and that when it was ulika, they would like to eat it as table taro. What Puku'i was doing was she was listing 2 of the maturity states of kalo.
Yeah, and you're talking about the consistency of it.
I'm talking about the quality of the starch, right? You harvest the taro. If it is harvested at the right time, it's like picking the mango from the tree when the thing is ready to drop but hasn't.
Yeah. So
right?
It's like harder or softer.
So, all right, there's 2 types of taro. There's hard taros and soft taros. Hard taros you pound hot. Soft taros you pound cold. But both of them are a reference to the starch. So it goes from in the beginning, when the starch is immature, it's flaky. And I never understood this until one time I got a little bit immature lehua taro, and it was like little white pepper flakes in the poi. I couldn't get it out no matter how I could eat it. That taro was young. Then you have the perfectly mature taro where, you know, Queen Emma talks about snow white lehua poi.
That sounds good. That sounds like something they sell at the farmer's market.
Sounds like what you think of. Everyone thinks of lehua as like this purple taro.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the thing is, the lehua, when it's perfectly ripe, the purple is only a little bit of the outside. And when you clean it, you scrape it all off, and the starch is pure white. The purple is actually the over-ripeness of the taro. In the 1900s with the poi machine, you were able to use an inferior quality of taro to mill, a quality that you couldn't pound. So actually, this is a recipe change. Today, the poi that we eat today wouldn't actually by law be legally allowed in 1942. In 1942, the regulations were poi consisted of less than 30% solids shall be deemed unfit for human consumption and the sale of such prohibited. The definition of poi today is the unadulterated ground taro product containing no less than 27% solids.
So it's basically just water.
Well, it gets even crazier. There's a subcategory of poi.
This is like something we don't know about.
You know how in labeling, guys just like natural flavors doesn't actually mean natural flavors.
Yeah.
Right? From nature.
Yeah.
Poi ready to eat is the unadulterated ground taro product containing no less than 15% solids. So I don't want to mention any brands because I really believe in the poi industry. But any brand that is found in the refrigerator is poi ready to eat. And that brand is 85% water. And if you look at the labeling of these, it will all say poi ready to eat. These are the type of pois that I want you to think of it. If poi is a starch that can last for weeks, months, or years in the tropics with no refrigeration, what do you call a product that has to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe, the milled taro is mikini ai. Yeah. It's completely different name. Yeah. Mikini poi.
Yeah. Instead of
Yeah.
pa'i
Instead of
ai,
poi,
it's
instead of
mikini
poi.
ai.
Right?
Yeah.
Mikini ai. There's the kupunas, they didn't blanket anything.
Yeah.
It was like, well, it's this type of blanket.
Yeah.
From
Mikini
here.
is machine for people who don't know.
So today I feel, and I feel we're gonna come to this at some point in the future with the growth of the ku'i'ai awareness. Yeah, in 2011 when we legalized it, had about 25 of us pound taro. There's about 25,000 of us that pound taro today, right? And it's not gonna go backwards. It can only go forward. I believe that the future legislation to be made is that, one, if it's made in a machine, you should not have a pohaku ku'i'ai on your label.
It's like false advertising.
It's false
like
advertising.
Bad branding.
Two, if it's not hand pounded, you can't call it poi. You can call it a poi-like product. You can call it machined poi. But the term for poi is reserved for a very specific recipe, right? My chef friend, Leanne Wong, she says, Daniel, if you change grandma's recipe by one step or one ingredient, guess what? It is not. It's not grandma's recipe.
Yeah, it's like baking where you have to have the exact ingredients.
Right? And in this thing of our ancestral food, it was so exact because it was the source of your life. Yeah, there's the story of Hilea Ikekalo Eka Eka, which is a story out of Ka'u. The chief, I believe, was Kohai Kalani. And when he was traveling in Punalu'u, it was the duty of the upland farmers to provide his ai. So his chief steward, his ai pu'upu'u, upon inspecting the poi, found a speck of taro skin in the poi from the people of Hilea, of which, depending on the version of the story, they were either severely beaten or put to death. And it was common in that part of the island, if you wanted to say someone was dirty, you'd be like, oh, mai Hilea mai oi.
Nice. That's a good one.
What is the science of this story?
Yeah.
The science is that the microbes live on the skin. If you add the skin to the recipe, it doesn't last as long. Right? How many brands of poi can you buy today and just leave on your kauna and the thing not sawa fast?
I can't think of any.
And the reason is that today, right, it's pressure steamed and strained. And straining is a fancy word for I never cleaned the taro too good. I'll put the screen at the end, go and catch all the debris. But you're not catching the microbes that the debris was on, which means now your poi has a much higher concentration of microbes. You've also used the sweeter parts of the taro in the poi, which is what the microbes feast on, which is why your poi no last. And when it doesn't last, you get different health benefits. Yeah, you want it to stay in that fermented stage as long as possible, because in that stage, it's more like a keto diet, right? When we eat fresh poi, look, if you're a diabetic, you cannot eat store-bought poi without getting sick. It will spike your sugar because it uses the parts of the taro that are overripe, that are not intended in the medicinal recipe of poi.